Welcome to Green Ball Extra. Today we've got a great interview with Stuart Barnes, who's the new assistant coach and national bowling lead for Ireland. Welcome, Stuart.
Thank you, Craig. It's really good to be here.
Now, before we get to know you as Stuart Barnes, the coach, a bit about you growing up. Was cricket always your sporting direction, or did you dabble in other sports?
I actually played some other sports as well when I was young. Cricket was always the main sport because I followed my dad. He didn't play a particularly high level, but me and my brother always went along on a Saturday. The other sports, football was on par with cricket for quite a long time. I played some representative in some representative teams. Dabbled with rugby, bit of a playmaker at fly half, but football and cricket for a long time, and then cricket kind of punched through eventually. So that was the thing.
Then you made your way up in the system, played first class cricket for Gloucestershire, and played for Wiltshire in the minor counties. I note you made your first class debut against Derbyshire, and you took 2 for 10 off 6 overs in your first stint. You must have thought this is a bit of a doddle.
Well, my role was to keep the game quiet whilst Courtney Walsh and Sid Lawrence had a rest. So I'm kind of guessing that the Derby batters back then, as soon as Walshy and Sid came off, right, we're going to tuck into this lad. And I got a couple of early wickets, thankfully. But then as soon as I got a couple of wickets and the opening bowlers had enough rest, they came back on and finished them off. But I guess 2 for 10 in my first outing. I didn't think it was easy, but I thought, well, okay, what's next then?
So not only making your first class debut would have been special, but actually playing with Courtney Walsh at the other end would have been special as well. What's playing with a legend like that do for you as a young bowler?
Well, just being able to watch him from close up, not just in matches, but the way that he went about his business off the field as well, at training and stuff. He was really good. He's a giver in terms of the information, the experience that he has, and so he made himself available all the time. He just made it look simple, really, and I think that's what the best players do, don't they? I used to field down at third man fine leg, and I was always in the game because thick outside edges. Yeah, you don't go down in those positions against when those bowlers are bowling to have a kip. You're always in the game, but he just made it very simple. Looked after himself really nicely, and. Keep it simple, Barnesy, is all he kept saying to me.
Advice. A bit of a West Indies theme from your early days. I noticed Ian Bishop was bowling at you in the opposition in that match. But your second first class game, I know you came up against Glamorgan's side that featured one Viv Richards. Did you get a chance to bowl to him?
Yeah, there were some pretty decent overseas players back then. We're talking a long time ago now. I didn't bowl against Viv, but because he didn't last very long. I remember him coming out and he used to snort quite a lot when he was just walking. Having grown up, I was a Somerset supporter as a lad because we lived in Somerset. Right. The likes of Botham, Richards, Garner. I used to go down to they used to play a festival in Bath, and just his swagger and just the confidence that he had. And then all of a sudden I'm fielding it mid-off to Viv Richards, and he didn't bat for very long, but he batted for long enough for me to have to go and fetch the ball outside the ground. So no, I didn't bowl against him, but it was really good to be that close to him on the pitch. He's obviously a legend.
And likewise, by about the age of 21, you'd played a couple of touring sides. You'd played a West Indian side that included Haynes, Lara, Richardson, and Phil Simmons. Of course, he's got very good connections to the Irish cricket team. You played an Indian side which had Shastri, Tendulkar, Azharuddin, and Kapil Dev. What does it do for a young bowler to come up against players like that in learning your trade and learning your craft?
Well, you have to learn very quickly. Again, playing against that sort of caliber of player. I guess I was fortunate to get that very early insight as to this is what it takes. If you want to be just a kind of a journeyman county cricketer, you might be able to find a way, but if you have bigger ambitions, then this is what you've got to compete against. And batting wise, I remember fielding it mid wicket, and Lara, he was new to the international scene then. And I just remember him hitting the ball so hard along the ground and just hit gaps. That's all I remember about that game. And Tendulkar, that was his first tour. So that was quite interesting. But the Indians, we bowled them out quite cheaply in the first innings. So I'm not sure what happened there. But to play against those sort of players, it was amazing. And like I say, it was a real insight into, right, if you're serious about this and you want to progress, these are the sort of skills, these are the things that you've got to pick up in order to do that.
Now, obviously, you learned quickly because some of your victims, I know it included the likes of Mike Atherton, Graham Thorpe, Ian Botham was there, Alex Stuart.
Yeah.
But there's an entry in your batting register, which I was curious to ask about. And it was, I saw a match which said S. Barnes bowled Wasim Akram for 0. So 2 questions. Was it a Sandshoe crusher and did you see it?
Yeah, I did see it, but I just couldn't react quick enough. And it was that was a quarter final against Lancashire at Old Trafford, where they were just baying for blood, and it was around the wicket. It was a red ball game, so one day cricket was red ball back then. I just couldn't react quick enough, and that was it, kind of game over. But again, if you're serious about this, my job, as a tail ender, is quite an interesting one because club cricket and minor counties cricket, I was all right. I could score some runs, but then you take the next step up again. The game is just so much quicker, and reaction's got to be quicker. And then you go up again to international cricket. It's just the speed that I wasn't quite kind of drilled into me at an early age. But yeah, I saw the ball but couldn't react.
And after playing, you switched to coaching. So what is it that interests you or got you into coaching?
Well, my own playing career was a very short one, professional playing career. And so after a number of years, I thought, well, why was it so short? And I came to a couple of conclusions, one of which actually maybe I wasn't as good as I thought I was, although I kept hearing that actually I was really talented. But then I kind of just, did I have the work ethic to go with my talent? And when I came to the conclusion that actually at that time I didn't have the work ethic to go with my talent, I said, right, okay, I want to be in cricket and I want to be a coach, and I had a real interest in fast bowling, all aspects of fast bowling. But my thing was, right, I'm going to help as much as I can people not make the same mistake as I made. So that was the kind of the embers that started growing, and it just kind of grew from there, really.
You got more than 20 years coaching experience now. What to your mind over that period of observing and being a coach? I mean, what to your mind makes a good coach?
Well, I've been fortunate to work alongside some what I would call really good coaches, and they all have a very close connection to the players. So that's all about relationships. It's all about gaining trust, yes, knowledge, and picking out the real simple things that the players can maybe tweak and embed in themselves in order to improve. And the best coaches, so working alongside John Bracewell at Gloucestershire for a good number of years, he inspired me to create an ambition for myself. And that ambition was to coach at international level. So, here I am. And it took 20 years, well, less than that, 15 years. So it's a long old journey. But these coaches, I guess you pick out coaches that have a style that you can relate to yourself. But the best coaches I've picked up on and kind of copy and model to a certain degree and then make it my own. They're just the ones that go about their business pretty quietly, very knowledgeable. They challenge themselves, they keep growing themselves, but ultimately they've got a really good relationship with the players.
And is that the basis of what you'd loosely call a philosophy of coaching, or have you got some sort of, if you're pinned on what your philosophy of coaching is, what would it be?
I'm a believer that philosophies evolve, because if you, as a person, I believe that I'm asking the players to get better. So therefore, they're only going to get better if they become a slightly different player. Otherwise, you're just going to get the same all the time. And I believe that the same applies to me. So my philosophy now, compared with 15, 20 years ago, is so different. So the basis of my philosophy is all about getting to know players, observing. So, if somebody gave me some feedback, having observed me for the last 10 years, they would probably say I say a lot less now than I did 10 years ago, because I'm observing, and is what I'm seeing consistent, or is it a one-off? So I observe a lot, and then connect with the players, get that relationship, gain their trust, and then ultimately help them to get better if they want to be helped, and then kind of push them over the line with as much belief and confidence as possible.
And so your coaching career has not only been county sides, development sides, worked with academies. I mean, for young fans watching this, or young players getting into cricket and thinking about cricket as a career now, you can in Ireland. I mean, what are you as a coach trying to look for and identify in developing a young talent?
Well, it's quite interesting. If the mindset is right, are they listening? Are they really interested in what is being said, or are they interested in what they are seeing? If they're observing, say Bally or any of the current international players, are they really into the game, or are they just kind of not in the room, sort of thing? So is there a real keen interest? And you can tell the young players whether they are kind of listening or not. Is it a glazed kind of look on their face? But I've been very fortunate to have a real cross section of experiences. So I actually started off coaching in primary schools. And so, the organizational skills, the language skills, the ability to control a large group of kids, and then right up to where I am now, I think that's really stood me in good stead in terms of applying the right approach. But with young players who are serious, get out and play the game, enjoy it, understand that actually you are going to fail, but failure is just a part of the process of getting better. And when we start looking at talking about bowling and stuff, there's aspects of bowling that I can't explain, but I can kind of observe a bowler for a short period of time and think, yeah, bloody hell, that could really go places. It's this bit of a gut feel. It's a little bit about, are they gliding? Do they run well? And all this kind of stuff. But if we could talk about technique if you want, but ultimately, does this kid, if it's a young kid, really want to get better? And what are they prepared to do in order to get better?
And the modern game obviously allows players and coaches to experience vastly different conditions. Can't imagine a more vastly different condition than moving from Gloucestershire to Bangladesh. How did that opportunity come about?
Well, I received a call to see if I would be interested. And at that point in my career at Gloucestershire, I was assistant coach, bowling coach, and John Bracewell was there at the time. And I kind of knew that I needed a point of difference. What can I learn that will put me ahead potentially of other coaches? Because at the time, there's some bloody good bowling coaches out there. And so I decided, right, this is a great opportunity on two aspects. Learn how to bowl seam and reverse swing in those conditions. Right. So that was the primary thing. And at that time, there weren't many teams that go to that part of the world, Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, where the seamers did well. It's traditionally spin, isn't it? So that was the first thing. How do you bowl reverse swing here? And secondly, I was really interested in being able to coach players that don't speak English. Okay. So being able to, or having to overcome that challenge. And I really, really enjoyed it. I needed an interpreter. But what it did was it really stripped away what I said in its simplest form in order for somebody else to say what I was saying. And from that point of view, I think it was brilliant for me.
And this isn't your first encounter now with the Irish setup, of course. So you were part of the Ireland men's coaching staff during the ODI series back in July this year. How familiar were you with the players before you started that series?
Well, I've come across a few of them beforehand. So Stirlo at Middlesex, on the county circuit, I worked with Wills at Surrey when I was there. Kevin O'Brien a couple of times. He was overseas player at Gloucestershire and also at Surrey. And of course, Boyd when we played against him and stuff. So there were a few of them that I knew. And I did a little bit of research before I went down there, but I made sure the first few days was all about spending some time with the players I hadn't come across before. So there was a little bit. The overriding thing that I knew was that it's a bloody talented squad, and if I were able, my whole thing was right. Okay, thanks for the call, 40, Rich. I'm really excited about being able to join you in Somerset. Were really good in releasing me for that period. I want to come in and see if I can add some value. And, hopefully I did that. But it was a really, really good experience in the bubble. To observe the way that England trained was interesting. But more than anything, how we trained and how we went about our business. I wasn't surprised at all that we won a game.
And yeah, I mean, how did you cope watching that run chasing game 3?
Well, on the outside, I'm hoping that people will see that I was pretty calm, but which I think is really important for players to see coaches are being really consistent and they're keeping their emotions in check and stuff. But on the inside, being able to control what was going on inside, because I knew how big it was. I mean, 10 points, 10 points winning that game, the longer vision and stuff. For Irish cricket moving forward, it was massive. And so you're just kind of hoping things go away. But there was something about the whole day. You just had a bit of a feeling. It's weird. So yeah, it was a brilliant experience, and it was a great way to finish the trip.
Very good. In your new role, you'll be spending time with the Ireland women's squad as well. I mean, is this your first introduction to women's cricket, or have you trained in women's cricket before?
I've done a little bit of work with the England team a few years ago. That was up at Loughborough. I've not done a huge amount of work. I'm really interested where I can to hook up with the team and Ed, because I'm interested in whether there are any differences in coaching women bowlers physically than male counterparts. I'm a massive optimist, and I would love to have a part to play in an 80 mile an hour female Irish bowler.
Right. And now your first matches since you've taken up the role full time will be up against the UAE in early January. What are you going to be doing now? I mean, you're in self-isolation at the moment, you've just come across from England. What are you be doing now between now and those first matches to prepare the squad?
Well, I've got another COVID test tomorrow, and as long as those results go okay, that'll be my 5 days and my second test out of the way. And I'm looking forward to joining the squad for their training, both in Dublin and up in Belfast. I'm heading back home to home. Emily, my wife, and son Sebastian, they're in Kent, so I'm going to go back there for Christmas and then join up with the squad out in the UAE. So I'm looking forward to getting through isolation, working with the lads, catching up with them again, having a good Christmas, and then really getting stuck into things out in the UAE.
Fantastic. Well, it's been an unusual time for everybody of late, but it must be still an exciting time to join Irish cricket. Best of luck with the months and years ahead, and welcome again to Irish cricket.
Thanks, Craig. Really appreciate that.